So, welcome everyone. Being a CEO panel and me not being a CEO, I am the moderator, of course. And we have today a few very interesting topics to discuss with a very nice panel. Actually, we had some drops from the last minute because I guess there was some travel disruption these days. But nonetheless, we have a very, very powerful panel today. So maybe we start with a brief introduction of all of the panelists. Maybe starting from myself, I am from Otovo. Otovo is a residential energy company from Norway. We have done 30,000 installations all over Europe, most of them in the last 2 years. We have been often referred to as sort of the Uber or the Airbnb of the solar market because we're essentially a marketplace, a platform where installers sort of compete against each other to sort of offer good prices and services to the customers. And I will say that my role is Vice President Partnerships, which means that I am in charge of establishing and managing relationship with valuable partners for us, which are for us people that can bring us additional sales or customers. The last meaningful one that we closed was last week in Berlin with Volkswagen, with the Volkswagen Group. So we're going to offer all the electric vehicle owners the possibility to get solar panels for their roofs. So that's about me. And maybe we can go to Joachim.
Thank you very much. Joachim Rupp, CEO of Tetra Solar. We are a design services and engineering consultancy. So it's the nuts and bolts, basically, of the solar business, the engineering. And we are the E of the EPC, if you wish. Company has been in existence since 2011, so we have quite a long-standing track record. We're working for developers, we're working for EPCs, IPPs, large energy companies, whenever there's a requirement, for design services, from very initial type of design, to full execution design.
Thank you very much. My name is Thorsten Preugschas. I'm the CEO of Soventix. Soventix is existing since 15 years already. I'm by myself in the solar industry for almost 30 years right now. The core business of Soventix is EPC, construction and project development, not only in Europe, also in the emerging markets of Latin America and Africa. Quite active more in the emerging markets than in Europe, to be honest. Cooperating with Tetra and Joachim in different occasions. So therefore, we have quite a good overview about the different markets, different aspects inside the industry, and hopefully enough experience to give you a little bit of an insight. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Agata. I'm CEO and co-founder of Sunstor, digital marketplace similar to Otovo, but in a different part of the value chain in the industry. We do equipment trading for B2B players in the industry. I launched the business last year, and in this couple of months, we grew to the half giga of equipment sold and 50 million euro turnover on the platform. And we look very optimistic towards the future, as we believe that the digital is coming also to this industry, and hopefully we will discuss it in this panel.
My name is Peter Waldmann. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Strom. Strom is also an EPC for the commercial and industrial space. We're a joint venture between Renergo, it's another company of mine, and Romtechnik, which is a German company focusing on commercial industrial clients, supplying heat and electricity to them. We're newly founded, started this year. I've been in the industry since 2012. I've been around in various organizations. I spent 6 years in the US for a big IPP developing mostly ground mount projects, and we started there with DC coupled storage systems already back in 2017.
Hello, I'm Lars Josten. Maybe you noticed from the booklet that I just replaced someone. It's Marco Engelmann. He just became father, so my best wishes to Marco and his newborn. Just on the stage because last year I even joined with Joachim already the discussion of CNI, and I'm still very, very interested. And like last year, where I stated that CNI will be a big part of the game in the solar industry for Germany. Yeah, happy to help.
Great, so great introduction. And we have a few topics to discuss today, but please do not hesitate if you have any question. It would be even better if it could be interactive. So yeah, so do not hesitate, do not be ashamed. So maybe we can start with sort of an introductory question about, or topic about the solar trends, what we see in the market in terms of numbers, regulation, innovations. I don't know if Peter, he wants to give us a bit of a background.
Sure, yeah, I think looking back what has happened last 2 years, or last year and this year in Germany, in the rooftop market, the residential market has, I think, been a little bit stable. The growth compared to last 4 months last year to this year is pretty much the same with like installation rate of 2 gigawatt. The commercial industrial space on the other side has seen a growth of 60%. We're now at first 4 months this year at 1 gigawatt. So the commercial space is growing and coming.
Yeah, and maybe I can add something that, at least from the residential standpoint, we see in Europe that growth continues to be there. But of course, sometimes it's a bit volatile, depending on local regulations, and also, of course, on the back of the crisis 2022, the situation is a bit different today than what it was 2 years ago. Possibly, we can also discuss about how do we see, so we've been focusing on residential, but how do we see the differentiation between CNI and residential? What is most important? What are the differences that we see today? And maybe you can give us a bit of a view, Thorsten.
Yeah, thank you. The differences between the three markets that we have. It's larger greenfields, it's a CNI space for bigger rooftops, and the residential markets. As we are quite active in a lot of different countries, we see similar aspects even with different jurisdictions. So to getting into a country to a critical mass of solar, that would mean some larger scale greenfields would make sense. But then you relatively quickly come to the point that you have reached a critical mass of solar inside the energy field of a specific country. Like Germany, for example, where we have like in days that we see today with a lot of sunshine, 100% of the energy demand of Germany is coming only out of solar, not out of wind, not out of nuclear power plants. It's coming 100% of the energy what we are using today is coming out of the solar fields that are established in Germany. That means we need to find appropriate ways to move the things forward. Storage is one issue in that, but that also means we have to decentralize more the energy production, that the energy is produced where it's needed. And that gives more potential, especially to the CNI space or to the residential market, that a part of the energy what is used is produced locally and not have to move towards the grid. That means the demand of the grid is less. We don't have to build much higher voltage lines to bring the energy from the Northern Sea to southern Bavaria. And these are the aspects that for the future I see more potential in the decentralized CNI and rooftop space than for larger greenfields. Germany is already at this stage that these things are going to happen. And even maybe Lars can say something about that because he had pretty much experience also in these different fields.
Yeah, the decentralized aspect is for me very, very important because the main goal of the EEG, which was, let's say, 20 years ago, the foundation of the solar industry in Germany, is that we are renewable powered. And therefore, it should be a goal for every industrial company to power itself, as long as it has a roof. But this comes with a lot of hurdles, and this is even what I learned in my previous role as CEO for a solar division of a utility. If you are having your own roof and you have, let's say, multiple offices or production facilities, it is still not possible that you can produce in one side and shift the energy to the other. So this more or less is like a call out to the utilities that they will open new product, especially for industrial companies, that they can shift their production within their own balance of their electrical offtake. So this is still one of the, let's say, bottlenecks which is limiting the factor. On the other side, it's right now okay-ish, let's say it that way, from the feed-in tariff to build your own system on your roof. As an industrial company, you still have a proper feed-in, but basically what even Torsten mentioned right now, what will you do with the overcapacity? So you need to store it, you need to extend your, let's say, local installation. These are all processes which then needs to be learned by the companies itself, which are always looking back on a payback of 4 years, 5 years for their investment. And this basically will not happen with your solar installation on the roof. So there's a lot of education which should be done, but the positive fact is right now sustainability plays a very, very big role, and even the companies are more or less following the sustainability way and shifting, therefore, the production energy to their roofs. And this is like a call out, use your roofs. It's the best space that you can use for energy.
There's one additional aspect that is also quite interesting to know. If you want to become independent in Germany, as a CNI or a private individual, it doesn't matter. Can you build yourself a solar system that making you or giving you the potential to become off-grid? No, it's not possible. It's not possible due to the weather conditions that we have in Germany, and that the major radiation on a solar system is coming in the summertime and only a much smaller part in the wintertime. But if we are talking, if we are raising the same question to southern part of France, Spain, Italy, it's a different answer, because you can become almost independent from the grid. It might be that you have to over-design your system from sizing, but even with the actual energy prices from the grid and the prices that you have to spend for a proper solar system, including storage, you even can become financially viable and almost independent from the grid. And that is the name of the game for the future. If you become cheaper by your own production and becoming independent from a utility, a lot of people, a lot of factories will think about it. We are talking about Europe, but I can give you an example, for example, why we are active in Africa. We are building for a lot of mining industries, larger scale solar power plants, including storage. It is for them to save a lot of money against fossil fuel production that they are using with generators, diesel generators, just gas generators. But the major point is they have more reliability in the renewable technology than what they can source out of the grid in the most African countries. So they have to find a proper solution. And what we are right now trying to do, using this experience out of the African markets, also to some remote regions in Europe, if we are capable to build systems beyond the existing grid. And that is open a lot of resources, but that means we are more focusing in this, let's say, mid-size scenario on remote or decentralized solutions.
I want to add something to what Lars said. That's what we're also seeing in the market. Like what we're getting as question very often is we have companies with several buildings throughout Germany, and they have some large warehouses and other areas where they have a lot of demand. But yeah, it's really tricky to basically shift the energy from the warehouse where we're fitting a large solar system to the other area where they have the demand.
You wanted to mention something?
Yeah, maybe just to add to that, I mean, as a design services company or consultancy, we are typically at the very early stage of these projects, and I can clearly confirm what all the other guys have said, we've seen an influx of existing companies expanding in different markets for Rooftop, but we've also actually seen an influx of new companies, either coming from a different field, from a different area, starting to get more and more active in the CI space. So it's a kind of a momentum which has built up already over the past year and a half, 2 years, and which I can definitely see. I mean, outlining on the decentralization of the energy grid, I can definitely see going very, very far.
Yeah, and I think possibly something to add to what you just said is that there are normally very different processes, CA&I and residential. For example, they often ask us to do sort of bigger installations, CA&I, but we always decline. We made the conscious decision not to do it. It's a completely different process, both from a regulation standpoint, but above all, it's about the way you acquire these customers is completely different from the way you acquire residential customers. So we prefer to maintain that completely separated, at least from our side. And I think speaking about what you can do to acquire customers or what you can do to facilitate in the installations, whatever they are, whatever size they are, whatever purpose. What about financing options? We see that there is sort of a development on that standpoint. Maybe someone, Torsten, again, you want to walk us through what you think?
Yeah, financing is always a big topic. First of all, the actual interest rate is not supporting the solar field. We had this dramatically low interest rates in the recent years, but has supported the solar developments worldwide. For sure, solar becomes so damn cheap, to be honest, meanwhile, that even with the actual interest rates, it is a feasible business for the investor. It doesn't matter if I'm a private individual and I want to invest on my private single household, or if I'm owning an industrial company and want to run a gigawatt factory in parallel. The point is, what are the banks willing to finance? And their C&I is a little bit more difficult because on one hand, private individuals to get their household system finance is easy. It's a standard bank, what they're using for their facility at all, that's fine. A multi-megawatt large-scale greenfield is also quite easy because it's interesting for the banks because we're talking about 50, 60, 70 million euro financing, and that is attractive for the bank. But if you're coming around and want to have a megawatt system on your facility financed, that is a point where banks are a little bit more reluctant to deliver a proper debt financing, especially when the core business of the owners of the factory is not the strongest one. So there are a lot of influences in financing of solar fields or solar projects. But in general, the opportunities are available, especially for Europe, because again, from my experience, what I see in the emerging markets in Africa, Latin America, and Europe, the most of the banks are strongly focusing on Europe because they may think that Europe has a more reliable solution on financing or on payback on solar fields. Okay, we all know what's happened, for example, in Spain with retroactive changes in the solar fields. That was not helpful. And that's always, for me, a good example to show that maybe being active in Africa is not more risky than to being active in Europe. But on the other aspect, I think getting financing in place in Europe for a proper developed and designed solar project is not the most difficult topic.
Yeah, thanks. Anyone else wanted to add something?
Yeah, maybe I just wanted to add that what you mentioned is showing us another advantage of decentralized because it allows, like, the financing is easier and somehow we can decarbonize and go through this revolution on the citizens' money at the end.
Good point. Decarbonization or the CO2 taxes that are coming up and becoming more and more expensive, making projects even more viable.
that's a super, super relevant topic. From our side, what we have done, we have sort of included a subscription model in the purchase of a solar installation. It's actually strongly increases the value proposition because, of course, solar installation, the average price in Europe is 12,000 euros. Germany is much higher than that. So especially in a moment like that, to give people the possibility to get access to this kind of financing options, of course, makes the product a lot more attractive, also from our standpoint. And maybe just to bridge that to possibly the last sort of scheduled topic that we wanted to discuss today, how do we see sort of the rise of these new sort of solutions which are more digital than before, possibly more in the B2C side than in the B2B side? But how do we see that happening right now? Maybe Agatha, you want to give us your perspective.
I can start with the B2B part, while Otovo is more B2C. In our opinion, the digitalization of the purchase process is certain. According to some studies, more than 80% of the B2B buyers, they want to do purchases online. This industry is still kind of traditional. We estimate that only 5 to 10% of installers procure online. They mostly use traditional distributors, wholesalers, of course. Bigger companies purchase directly from the producer, but smaller ones mostly use traditional way. But in my opinion, the shift is coming, and either we acknowledge it, and we as sellers of equipment somehow adopt to this trend, or we will stay behind the competitors. We try to measure on the market what are the current obstacles and what are the advantages of online. Most of our buyers, they mentioned that easy comparison of the equipment, easy comparison of the prices, transparency, and availability of many brands are the main advantages of the digital purchasing path. While online needs to catch up on the technical service, on the warranty, on the trust, and also on the affordable, the easiness of the contact with the buyers. So while we are trying to catch up on these ones, according to our last survey, more than 75 respondents said that installers will buy more in the future online than they do at the moment. So we strongly believe that this digitalization, at least of the purchasing path, is coming.
Agatha, let me play the devil's advocate. I'm one of these dinosaurs where the company is really buying with a direct individual contact, especially on
from the producer or from wholesaler or distributor?
No, from both. It depends in which markets we are. There are some markets where we are not allowed to have direct contact to the facilities that are delivering the modules or the inverters, and sometimes we are also talking with the manufacturer itself. But especially if you are talking about larger volume, what you want to reach at the final stage where you would want to set the order, you want to squeeze again a little bit on the pricing, and there I see some let's say difficulties to make it online. If you have the personal contact, you can talk with the guy. Yeah, we are going to order, I don't know, 500 megawatt of inverters, and let's talk about the pricing. If we are matching the prices that we get, you get the order next day. So there's a little bit of movement, and if we are talking about high volumes, we are talking about a huge amount of money that you can save at this part. And there I would see, if it's only online without the direct contact, I would see the potential to lose money on my end.
Yeah, so two things here. First, on Sunstore, you still have a contact, so there is a chat where you can negotiate the price, the final price. And second point is that this person actually has some costs. This direct contract is associated with extra costs on the seller side. So they need to have a higher margin. While if we allow to sell online, and if we allow this, let's say, one person to serve more clients, then the margin can be tinier and the final purchase price for you can be lower.
Let's talk after the panel.
So you know that online usually allows for the seller to provide a lower price because the cost of the service is lower. So we see that actually the ones who trade on the platform are able to offer really low prices because of that fact. And the final point is the security. Like if you are to wire 1 million euro, of course you are thinking, is it secure to transfer it to the unknown partner on the other end? But we are, at the moment, we do have banking services, escrow service, so like safety measures which allow you to be sure that the money will be released to the seller only when you get the purchased goods. But of course, yeah, like at the end, the personal contact is also valuable to get the good pricing. I agree on that.
So as I replace Marco from Stellwerk, I know that he does even a lot of residential installation, and more or less for them it's very, very important to have a standard process to follow up, and therefore they negotiate with the manufacturers, for a standard product, and I think they still need the direct contact to a person, where you, let's say, negotiate on 2 megawatt of this panel power class and on these rails and on these clamps and so on and so on. After that, this is transferred, let's say, to a web shop or to a digital service. But at least half a year, someone should show up. That's the even that I will not call myself a dinosaur, but that's a part of the game of selling. Still know your person that you buy off.
I think, Klaus, you mentioned a good point. What is important? Standardization. If you have a standard product that you're using, or if you have a standard system that you are designing, then I think online purchase would it make more easy. But a lot of systems that we have, let's say, different parts. Foundation is different, connection is different, transformer voltage is different, tilt of the panels on the roof is different. So you have a lot of aspects that making each system different to the other one. And if we are talking about the B2C customers on the residential market, that would even mean if you make the best design for the customer, you have to invest a lot of time to make it viable for the customer, or you standardize, and then that would mean for your customer you're not always presenting the best system. And that is, I think, a philosophical question: what is the best choice to do? Okay, we are not quite active in the residential market, so therefore that's nothing for me to answer, but I think we even can include the audience in the conversation if there are some topics to raise.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, something to add to that is that if I look at that from the B2C perspective, so like installers installing residential, I think there is a value for them in being able to be in a relationship in which they don't have necessarily to buy millions of hardware, because actually this happened in the past and it was quite an issue for them after 2022. So a platform in which you can transactionally sort of do these kind of purchases on a one-off basis, it could be possibly better for them from a risk standpoint as well. And I think, but just to conclude on that one, also to look at the B2C side from the customer standpoint, we also believe in Otovo that there is still a road to make towards the digitalization. We started this journey, it was, I think, 7 years ago, and to offer this as a completely online experience to customers that were used to do it only offline. We see that little by little this is actually taking market share. Of course, still our sort of typical customer is sort of older than average, and it's not necessarily digital native, but this is a transformation that is happening, and of course with the generational shift will happen no matter what. But possibly there is some comments from the audience as well on that topic or on the others that we have discussed? Any
Maybe
question?
just a quick comment on what you said regarding digitalization of your side. I think that's super important to decrease the cost of acquisition on the residential segment, because at the moment, probably it's, I don't know how much percentage, but it's probably a high percentage of the total cost of the installation, this cost of acquisition. If we are able to decrease this, probably it's going to have a bigger impact that even decreasing the cost of the equipment within the installation, because this already dropped last year, as everyone knows.
Yeah, and this is essentially why they hire me. Because as opposed to actually spending money on Google, we prefer to sort of have an agreement with Volkswagen so they send us the customers. You know, this is a bit the idea of the function that I lead in the company. But this is a very good point, by the way. So any questions from the audience side? Yeah, there is one on the back. There.
Hi everyone, I'm Frank from Solar. My question is about, do you really think about the safety about the roof on the residential, on the commercial top, if there's any emergency? I think probably you have already seen that product, but what really you are thinking about that? That's my question.
I can answer to that. Yes, safety on the roof has some different aspects. First of all, it's aesthetics. Does the roof carry the weight what you need for a solar system? That is the first question. That is a relatively easy answer for Germany, because due to climate change, snow becomes less from the weight perspective in the wintertime. So most of the buildings that are built in Germany have some load carriage calculated for snow. So if you add a solar system and the snow weight drops due to climate change, the situation is that from statical point of view, the most roofs in Germany are feasible for solar. The other aspect in regards to safety is a case of fire. We had a lot of discussions in Germany in the recent years with fire departments that they don't want to cool down or to break down fires because they are afraid that they get an electrical shock. Therefore, there were a lot of research done in this aspect. And meanwhile, it becomes visible that even in case of fire, water is not an issue. You can bring down the fire without the aspect to be afraid to be, let's say, get an electrical shock. So safety issues are under a lot of reviews in Germany from the electrical side, from the statical side. Therefore, we have not seen a lot of issues in Germany at all. There may be once in a lifetime coming a fire out of a solar system. We had a lot of conversation in this regards that electrical vehicles are catching more fire than a combustion engine car, what is not the case, to be honest, but we have seen a lot of discussions like this, and that happens, I would say, 10 years ago or 15 years ago in the solar field as well. Yeah, solar systems are dangerous, they are catching fire and then burning your house down, but due to the long-time experience that we have in Germany, we can clearly show there is no more danger in a solar installation than in a normal electrical installation, what you have in every household.
Frank, did you refer to the technical security, or did you even want to know something about installation?
Actually, technical part, I'm not my concern because it's about the building regulations. Which I'm refer is to the MLPE products, which is module level power electronics like RSD, like optimizer, which have rapid shutdown. So this is safety tools. So for this, do you have any idea about where we should go in Germany, where it should go for the future? Are they going to have this product as a safety? Or if they have more function, are you interested? That's my question.
So you refer to optimizers on the residential?
Somehow it's similar to that, yes.
They are interesting, and the company I was working for used it quite a lot because it helps to install, especially on the residential side, on east-west or most difficult roofs. It is interesting, and I think there will be a development in that technology. And just referring to safety, what is very, very important for every installation that your company that is working for you more or less is certified in Germany, and most companies are in that way, and they only use certified products. And if you follow that rule, 95% you won't have a technical problem or problem caused by the installation.
Yeah, to add to that, I mean, it's obviously not only about the equipment, yeah, it's about the regulations, and they are different in different countries, yeah, here in Europe, yeah, all over the world, yeah. But safety has many different aspects, yeah. I mean, obviously there's also a design aspect, yeah, to it, yeah. So the person or the engineer, yeah, designing the system, yeah, needs to be aware and needs to apply all these rules and regulations, yeah, and also pick and choose, yeah, the right product, yeah. So I guess that's for you some point, yeah, where you can tag on, yeah, basically, yeah.
Maybe to add, I think in the commercial space, customers are very often very cost sensitive. So adding optimizers or tools where you can shut down modules on a module level has to be looked at from the economic point of view as well. There.
I think we got a question there.
Thank you. Farid Koumati from Afri Management Consulting. Just to follow up on safety, I was wondering, what about lighting poles? Is this a regulation that, I mean, I don't see lighting poles on every rooftop, but is that something considered the risk of lighting?
It depends if you ask on regulation and reality. Before I working in the solar industry, I was working in the telecommunication wireless business, where we put a lot of poles on roofs. And from that aspect, I come to the idea to build solar on roofs. So I can tell you out of almost 40 years of experience on rooftop realizations and hitting by lightnings, that lightnings are not focusing on collecting equipment that is installed. So regulations are one aspect, you have to follow them for sure, but don't consider that lightning protection is always working.
Okay. Thank you.
Good. There's a question there.
I'm Wilson from Ryzen, because we know that in the industry that this trend that models become bigger and bigger, but now I think it's only in Germany that we still have a restriction for the rooftop models, still 2 square meter. What do you see how it's going far in the future?
You mean the regulation that on the residential you only are allowed to install 2 square meter?
All the rooftop one, yeah, we know that's the regulation from the DIBD, I think, right?
This is already changing to the latest news. Some states are opening up.
I think it's just hasten. Others are still not yet, right?
Yeah, it takes time. But I know that it's interesting for a manufacturer to always build a bigger panel because you save a lot on, or save at least a margin in the production process. But on the other side, please always consider that there are people installing it, and it doesn't make sense to carry a 3.5 square meter panel on a commercial roof, and the wind is. So even there, the question from Frank was safety. Yeah. Big panels, which you see, let's say, on the 670, 680, and let's say in the green installation, shouldn't be installed on the roof. There should be a roof size, yeah. If it's 2 square meters, 2.5 square meters, I'm okay with. But everything else is a little bit big maybe you will go on an installation and try to handle a 3 square meter size panel.
Yes, depends on the market. I
Yeah,
see.
and it's then nearly 28, 29 kilos. That's a hard job, and you need to consider safety first, even for the team that is installing.
I can agree to Lars in this regards, and I agree also size matters, but not in the regard of a solar panel. History is a little bit repeating. When I was, let's say, in the industry 15 years ago, and thin film panels became attractive due to their pricing in comparison to crystalline panels, there were some manufacturers producing a 5 square meter panel for large-scale greenfield solutions. Here on the Intersolar, they have presented, I think, 4 or 5 different manufacturers in the same time their panel. And to be honest, there were not a single 5 square meter panel that was presented on the Intersolar in these days without a scratch or a breakage or a failure, because it was extremely difficult to handle this double glass panels in that size. And that is exactly coming to the point what Lars mentioned. It's difficult to handle it. What we have right now with the panels above 600 watt, I think that is a borderline what would make sense to handle it with 2 people without being too heavy, especially when we talk about rooftop solutions. Then it becomes dangerous to using bigger panels, or you need expensive equipment to handle these panels. And on the other aspect, a single damaged panel would decrease your energy output out of the system. If you have a system with more panels, a single failure will have less impact on the energy production. So therefore, I think we are on the panel side already in a more or less optimal design from sizing. We will have some certain steps in the future on efficiency, 5% more, or let's say 5 watt more, 10 watt more, what we have seen in the recent years, but that is the only aspect that we would see.
Thank you.
Cool. Any other last question? Not really. Great. Over to you. So thank you a lot to the panelists, and
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure.
thank you.
Thank you.